Alright, let's get into this. So this is non-chord tones. Non-chord tones. Awesome. Non-chord tones. So our first non-chord tone that we're going to learn is the passing tone. Passing tone. So what a non-chord tone is, just like in the name, it says it is a non-chord tone. So basically that is a tone, a note, a pitch that is not a chord tone. It's not in the chord, okay? But typically, a lot of times, we still keep them diatonic. Keep it diatonic, all right? Not in all cases. You'll see. We'll get into some examples of that. We'll get a little crazy. But let's jump right into Autumn Leaves here. And let's go back to what we were saying with our guide tones, okay? So maybe I like the G as my guide tone. I also like C. I know these are voice-led, a little funky, but we're going to live with it, okay? Now let's hit a G down here, and let's go up to a B. Okay, so let's start on the bottom here, this G major 7 to the C major 7. This is a prime example of where we could use a passing tone, alright? So we're going to use the passing tone, the non-chord tone here is going to be A. So that is right here. And I'm going to put this up on a strong beat, even though a lot of times you're going to want to use passing tones on weak beats. You learn this in classical theory. If you're going to take the AP music theory exam, they discourage you using passing tones on the strong beats. But you know what? We're going to do it anyway because we're rebels. All right, and I'll give you an example of passing tone on a weak beat as well. So this, for our purposes right here, is our passing tone. So you see this A is not part of G major 7, right? But it is diatonic to the G major scale, right? And we're going to use it as sort of like a bridge to get to that B, right? So you're using passing tones when you aren't voice-led perfectly through your guide tones, okay? And you can see that I would have had a nicer voice leading if I went with the actual guide tones of B and an F sharp, right? We could have moved a little nicer. But what I did here is I picked the tonic instead. Because, when you're in... I will say that sometimes when you're on a gig, you're going to hit panic mode. And when you're in panic mode, you're going to see G major 7, and what are you going to play? You're going to play a G. You're going to be like, this is G major 7, I need a chord tone out of here, and I know that the chord tone is a G, because that is the root. It literally says it right there. So if you go with that, and you're like, oh shoot, now how am I going to get to my next guide tone? Well, you can passing tone that guy to the A, and then move on over to that B. Very nice. Okay. So let's take a look at this top part. I started on a G. I'm going up to a C. So you could do a series of passing tones, right, to get you up to that C, right? And maybe what we could do here is we could do the same thing rhythmically, right? Hang out on that guide tone for a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get kind of the same thing going. I got an A here, and A is actually not a passing tone. So wait, I'll use a different color for this. So you got the G, right? Let's put it in blue. We got the A here. Okay, I'm going to use eighth notes, and this is a good example of passing tone on a weak beat. Man, we look real colorful up in here, but that's okay. Colors are nice, unless you're colorblind, in which case I'm very sorry, and this might be a very confusing type of example because I'm color coding everything. But anyway, so what I have here is we can label all this. Let's call our guide tones GT. Okay, so this is a guide tone over here. This is a guide tone. And this actually, technically, this guy's not a guide tone. This G right here, this is, let's put him in blue. That's just, he's he's a chord tone. Okay, we're gonna call those, even though guide tones are a type of chord tone, but we're gonna be specific with the guide tones here. So this G is a guide tone, right? So basically what I'm saying here is this is a chord tone because it's the root or the fifth of G. So this A over here is also a chord tone, okay? So that the movement between this G and this A is not technically a passing tone, but this is a chordal skip. This is a chordal skip that we had from before, but our flat 7 to our 1 happens to be a whole step away. It doesn't look like a giant skip, right? So this is actually chordal skip between this G and this A. And now what we have on the weak beat here is from this A, we're trying to move up to the C, the guide tone of D7, which gives us this B. And now this B is the perfect passing tone, just like this A down here, is a passing tone, which is bridging the gap between our chord tone and our guide tone. Alright? So, I'm going to encourage you to throw passing tones everywhere. Time out. Maybe not everywhere. But start using some passing tones in your writing, okay? And I just want to reiterate that we are writing so that we can improvise, alright? Because you don't want to reinvent the wheel every time you're up on that bandstand. Like I said, sometimes you're going to be stressed out, right? Being stressed out is part of it's part of the experience, it's part of the gig. So while you're stressed out, you want to be able to just pull out as many of these things from your back pocket as you know, alright? And let's add the passing tone into that pocket. So start writing some passing tones. And you want to be writing them. I personally, I wouldn't worry about writing your passing tones on weak beats, but just start thinking about how you're going to use passing tones to move from chord tone to chord tone, or chord tone to guide tone to guide tone. Because the practice of writing it is what's going to put it in your playing. And after you write it, definitely play through it. So, yeah, so we could talk about how I know this is it seems like a niche example, but it happens quite often. So let's let's pretend that we're going to we're gonna go and do Freddy Freeloader, for example. Okay, let's hit that Freddy Freeloader again, because I get that you can see through those chord changes, you know, what's happening. But maybe if we did something like this. So, let's say Freddy Freeloader. Let's pick a chord tone that we like. Chord tone, guide tone. Let's go with D. Okay. You can do this in the same measure as well. So maybe let's go. I can label these correctly for you if you'd like. So let's go with D as a guide tone. D is a guide tone. Sorry, I keep getting like pop-ups. So D is a guide tone, and we're gonna move to, let's say, F as our. Let's make this F half note, and then so this D, and now let's throw in our passing tone here. So there's going to be a bunch of debate over this passing tone that we'll talk about briefly. So right here I have we'll fill it in as a quarter note. Right here, passing tone. So I'm going from guide tone, chord tone, and I'm putting a passing tone in between. Very cool. So the debate over this is that, like, do I want to play this? Like, all right, let me just label these out for you real quick. So this is the third, right? This is the third, and then this is the fourth, and this is the fifth. But, like, do you really want to play the fourth over this chord? Maybe, maybe not. Especially maybe not on a strong beat like that. You might not want to use a fourth, even though it is diatonic. The rub between that major 3 that the piano or guitar is playing against your solo in the fourth, especially if, you know, guitar players, they really like to voice their thirds on the top because of the way that your fingers kind of fall when you're playing something in reposition. So they might be voicing that third on the top, and then all of a sudden you're landing on that 4, and you're like, whoa, excuse me, this does not sound good. So what you might want to think about doing, this is, you know, this might be a little over the top talking about this right now, but this non-diatonic, you might want to throw in that E natural there, which would give you a sharp 4. You know, it would give you kind of like the Lydian feel, and then if you have something over here, let's say you're still rocking that A flat over here, in this, then your line is gonna sound well, the A flat is technically a guide tone. Your line is gonna sound very Lydian dominant, which is, to me, that's cool as heck, man. You know. Let's say we had this here, and then we'll just throw in, big no-no, I suppose, but we're doing it anyway, because we're rebels. I think I said that earlier in the video, maybe. Anyway, we throw another passing tone here. We're going to go hit this guide tone. And that's cool, man. It's going from this F chord tone up to the passing tone, up to your next guide tone. Very cool. Using G here. So actually, like, if you look at this line that we've created, this, here, I'll label out what these are. This is the 5, right? And then the G is your 6, right? That's a raised 6. You're thinking Dorian here with the raised 6. But anyway, I digress. This is, well, it's major, so I guess you're not thinking Dorian. But anyway, I know there are a lot of weird names for everything out there, and this is your flat 7. So if I saw this down here, maybe this in here with a 3 sharp 4 5 6 flat 7, you're thinking, boom, this is a Lydian dominant line. And when you're thinking Lydian dominant, you're like, dang, this guy knows his stuff. But you're not thinking, we didn't approach this thinking, oh, I'm going to play my 3rd, let me throw in that sharp 4 line, 5 6 flat 7. We didn't approach it like that. We thought, these are my chord tones, and these are passing tones that are going to get me to the next chord tone. And that's all you need to think. And while you're doing that, you are creating crazy hip lines, man. Lydian dominant lines, all right? So, be thinking embellishment, all right? Be thinking embellishment while you're going through this, writing things out, all right? I know I've probably said a lot of the same things over and over in this game, but I can't this video, but I can't stress enough, how important composing stuff is when going into an improvisational setting. So anyway, that's probably enough for this video. If you want to see more stuff on passing tone, or actually we could, man, I got so much information. That I want to share with you. Sorry, there's another pop-up. I don't know if I just said the same thing twice. Anyway, okay, real quick. I know I real quick a lot, but let's take that B flat 7 again. Right. Now let's go from D, okay? And let's say you want to go to B flat, all right? Your options here are, like, just be thinking about how you can get from one spot to another, okay? So this is 1 here. This is beat 4. How am I going to get from here to here? What if I just passing tone it up? You know what I'm saying? Or, you could chordal skip and then passing tone. There's so many different things you could do here that, we could drop the, let's see, we could just do this. Let's go with our thing here again, right? And let's just climb up. Right? And this is all, like, we consider all this passing tone because your goal, you were on this D right here, this D here, and you're just like, I need to make it to a B flat, man. So let me just passing tone it all the way up. Right? So what's interesting about this line, thinking about all those as passing tones, is that you actually end up hitting a chord tone here. Cool. And then you actually also end up this would be an A flat. You also end up hitting a guide tone here, right? So if you're just thinking passing tone, you might end up hitting a lot of this stuff in between. And I know the whole, like, I don't know, you don't want to be ignorant to the lines that you're playing, but to get you started, think about point A to point B. How am I going to get there? Maybe I'll passing tone my way through it. Or, maybe you are thinking ahead. Maybe you will chordal skip in there and then, passing tone through that. So yeah, anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you got a bunch out of this whole passing tone deal. Sorry I didn't go into this next 8 bars here, or next 4 bars here of Autumn Leaves, but here's a little example. So keep writing, keep playing. All right, thanks.